The only problem with being faster than light is that you can only live in darkness. And that, my friends, is how we started a video for an anime. No, but seriously, I love the stark contrast between Elda-san and Koito-chan, and how that difference tells a deep message about life. And I'll spend the next several minutes talking about it while looking at the anime in my real life. So without further ado, let's dive in. So to give you a brief synopsis, this anime is about an immortal elf who spends most of her time in her room. Kinda like that one girl from Watamote, the main difference being the reason. In the elf's case, she was a bit afraid to step into the real world because everything seemed so different. And who would blame her? Back in her day, people, normal people anyway, use ice for survival and never for consumption. Except in her case, she did eat it in sheer curiosity, but I digress. Anyway, nowadays, not only do we use ice for consumption, we have other wonderful luxuries, like same-day delivery for online purchase goods. And well, this is convenient and all, I honestly don't like how e-commerce companies can't tell the difference between this and this. You get the point. Times have certainly changed, and people are expected to change along with it. And considering that the world is changing at a rather dizzying pace, this is actually a bit problematic, but we'll get to that later. But before that, let's take a look at the anime for a second. Considering that the elf is some hundreds of years old, I imagine that she's been through quite a lot. And I'm going on a limb when saying this, but I think she's tired of life. No, I don't mean that she wants to commit the act of not living. What I mean is that she doesn't bother to better herself in any way, shape, or form. Heck, she has been stuck in her room for the past couple of decades, so need I say more? Anyway, this is really interesting in the sense that it is exactly opposite of our caretaker Koito-chan, who is obsessed with growing up, often by buying expensive stuff, or studying to get ahead, or taking on responsibilities. The last part being something that her younger sister also seems to share, which will become important later. Anyway, Koito-chan is less than ecstatic about Elda-san's life choices, and more often than not pesters her to socialize more, because from her viewpoint, she is a jumpy jackrabbit, whilst Elda-san is an injured tortoise. So why the difference? I think the answer lies in what the grandmother mentioned in the first episode when she said, "I want something that doesn't change." Now, you could take this a few ways, but in this video, we'll take it as her wanting to be connected to something, even if that something or someone is an elf who doesn't even bother to show herself to her. Still, regardless of not having any personal connection with Elda-san, she still wants to connect with someone so badly that she would shell out an enormous amount of cash for a bloody damn VR headset. See, when you get as old as grandma, or say Elda-san, because technically she is 621 years old, you realize that there is more to life than making yourself better or getting nice stuff. More on that later. Totally unrelated, you may become wealthy from all the bootstrap pulling you have been doing in your youth years, but you soon realize that you have nothing but Nesoberries surrounding you. Scary thought, eh? Or maybe that's just me. No, but seriously, I recently cleaned my room and it kinda struck me just how many of these parasites I had. At least that's what my brother calls them. But he may very well be right. The mountain of Nesoberries in my room do nothing to help me. See, the problem isn't talking to your Nesoberries, it's when they talk back. Jokes aside, they do nothing to help me when I need to connect with people. Actual people. And at this point you might be wondering, how did you let it get that bad? Which is a good question. See, just like Koito-chan, I was obsessed with spending money and bettering myself, and of course purchasing plushies. As previously mentioned, this world is growing at a dizzying pace, and that may or may not be the reason why young people nowadays expect everything to turn on immediately, which can be a problem on a honeymoon. And to make things worse, people are expected to go with the flow and change or improve themselves. In my case, it was working and saving hard to buy expensive tech to better myself, or more specifically, losing weight because I was gaining it at a rather worrying pace because of all the time I was spending at the office. So I got an ultra smartwatch to help me keep track of my exercise routine. Ultra durable, ultra long lasting, ultra expensive. No, but seriously, it was kind of worth it because it helped me exercise more. And let me tell you, watching my weight drop while seeing my money in my bank account skyrocket was really satisfying. Kind of like popping a zit, which is actually really bad for your face, but what I was doing was even worse, at least for my mental health, because it became a drug. Simply put, I was obsessed with growth. Growth in my wealth and the amount of calories I was burning, or more specifically, exponential growth. Simply put, I couldn't stop. I guess you could very well say that the watch that was supposed to help me exercise more was doing too good of a job. In fact, it was actually borderline controlling my actions. because I began exercising more and more, which wasn't bad at the start, but it became a slight problem when it basically dominated my life, and by extent, my social life. A fact that the grandma made me realize in episode 1 when she said that she wanted something or someone that didn't change. And I'm glad that this anime got me out of this rut, and in the nick of time because I had already wasted 6 months away from my friends, either working or working out. So I immediately cut down on my working and exercising hours to spend more time with my friends. Starting with the person who I knew I had to meet ASAP. We all call her Rie-chan. But in order to see her, I had to make up a reason, kinda like Koizu-chan did in that one episode. More on that later, but anyway, I called and asked how her TOEIC studies were going. Then I offered to help her while we talk over lunch. See, I knew that Rie-chan was serious about increasing her TOEIC score, so me helping her with my stellar English skills, as a Japanese person anyway, was a no-brainer of an offer. Still, I was slightly terrified of meeting her. Kinda like when you call back your mom after seeing 25 or so missed calls from her. And just like your mom, Rie-chan was worried about me. And to my great relief, she eagerly agreed to meet me. When we met, she told me that she was worried sick because I had continued radio silence for months on end. And to be honest, she had very good reason to be worried because this wasn't even the first time that I had kept her in the dark. The last time I did the same thing was when I tried in vain to solve my problems because of my past obsession with self-reliance. But that is a topic that deserves its own video that I'll do when talking about the anime 86. Anyway, while I did help her a little bit on her studies that day, it was mostly her blasting me with her concerns. Both about her life and her concern for me. And I actually like listening to her though admittedly I was a bit uneasy when she dug deep into what was going on in my life. As I mentioned in my previous video about the anime Rikorisu Ikoiru, I love listening to people, but I don't like talking about myself. YouTube being one of the few exceptions. Anyway, as the hours passed, I realized the mistake I had made by spending time away from her and my other friends, and the importance of spending time with the ones you love, something that Koizu-chan in the anime also seemed to know. Being Koito-chan's younger sister, she was busy taking care of Aldo-san by cooking delicious meal after delicious meal, and to satisfy Aldo-san's craving, she would take it upon herself to go to the market to get the best and freshest fish to serve food fit for a king, or elf, much to the surprise of the adults. In the same episode, Koizu-chan realized that both she and her sister were so busy with their various errands and obligations that they spent less and less time together. So in order to spend time with her sister, Koizu-chan faked a homework project. A very convincing and high quality fake project at that. But anyway, this reminded me of when they used my offer to help Rie-chan with her TOEIC studies as a fake reason to meet her. When in reality, I just wanted to spend time with her. Well, that, and I felt like I had to offer that kind of service in a vain attempt to sort of make up for making her worried sick about me. But anyway, thanks to Edomae Erufu, I finally realized that life is about spending time with the people you love. Sure, bettering yourself and making money is good and all, but it is all about balance. If it becomes the number one thing in our lives, we need to reassess our priorities. I'm sure glad I did. I guess you could say I turned from being Koito-chan with my obsession of growth to more like Elda-san, to taking life easier and just living in the moment. The only difference being, I don't annoy people every 5 seconds when I'm sick like Elda-san did to Koito-chan in that one episode. Or in that one episode in SpongeBob where Squidward loses his job and does the same thing to SpongeBob. Jokes aside, I love how this scene shows that we all just want to connect with one another. And as one friend to another, I ask of you, please spend more time with the people you cherish before one of you perish. Because we will all kick the bucket someday, right? And I don't know about you, but I'd rather be on my deathbed surrounded by friends and family than nesoberi nuigurumis. No thank you. Anyway, that is it for this video. If you liked it, consider dropping a like. If you hate it, a thumbs down. As mentioned before, I'll do a video about the anime 86 while talking about the problem of suicidal self-reliance. But since that video is going to be as dark as, say, Madomagi, I'm going to do a brighter one talking about the anime Kubo-san Mobu Yurusanai while talking about my past relationship with Shelly-chan. So if you want to see that, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you next time.